Me in prayer. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be acceptable to you, O God, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Hear this poem written for the wise ones. It's called Training to See Stars by Michael Coffey. It may have been a long course of study over years, books and lectures and experimentation and dissertations. Or perhaps it was a week-long seminar at the Hilton in the ballroom with the Persian-style carpet and crystal chandeliers. I suppose it could have been a drugstore pamphlet, picked up on the way to some other happening. But I'm guessing it was more like jujitsu, and grappling, and training on the ground with slow accreditation. But somehow, those magi were trained to see the light. And when the light came and no one else comprehended, they were ready and wide-eyed, awestruck and epiphanied, caught up in the journey of life on the holy, unmapped road. And you and I, what training, what discipline and diligence have we done when we look at the sky in longing and wonder, or in each other's eyes for some twinkling, some swirling Van Gogh star of divine guidance for passage? What would it be like if we had the kind of clarity, vision, and mission that the Magi had? These wise ones, the three kings, have been preparing their whole lives for this moment, for a star to arise in the sky like no other stars. The scriptures they grew up hearing told of this day, saying, "Arise, shine, for your light has come. The glory of the Lord has risen upon you." Maybe one of them heard that one day and thought, I could be the frankincense guy. The wise men, who were the sages, the philosophers, the kings, the interpreters of signs, the teachers, the astronomers, the ones who could interpret the stars, when they saw this star, they knew that God was sending them a special message. And they knew that God was sending the whole world a message, but they were the ones prepared to see it. And the light was both radiant and especially hard to see for some, because as the scripture says, a darkness had covered the earth, and an even thicker darkness had covered the people of the earth. And living in this darkness, the wise ones knew that it was time to lift up their eyes and look around, to gather from far away and to come together under this star. The Magi were the first people of a different culture other than Jesus to visit him and understand his resilience. They brought their most valuable gifts to this star child, walking miles in the dark, following the star, having faith in their preparation, resisting the voices that said, change, turn back, don't go there, that's a waste of time. And when they came to the manger where Jesus lay, they were struck with the incredible tenderness of the baby. This was to be their king, their leader, the wisest one. And here he was crying and gurgling, powerless, a baby, but radiant and full of God. For they knew that heaven had come to earth on this day with a profound statement saying to all of creation, "This is good." And the wise ones heard God speaking through this child. But it was a different voice of God that they had heard before. They heard God saying, "This child is special, and this child is every child. This child will teach you to protect the vulnerable, to lift up the lowly, to help those in need, to revere the powerless. And this child will teach you that you are sacred and vulnerable and filled with God, that you are loved beyond measure by the spirit of love that pulses through all the earth. This child will remind you of your own power, of your own holiness, your own radiant filling up with God to share with others. One wise man must have thought, my frankincense can never be enough to worship that God. He must have thought, this is all I've got though. And it seems like that God would like the offerings that I bring. This God would love the gift that I bring of just being myself, filled up with the divine, unafraid, ready to love just as I am, said the frankincense magi, ready to follow the Spirit of God in bold and risking ways, knowing God will be there. That one king knew his purpose. I think he's maybe the second one, the middle one, the frankincense guy, holding the lantern that maybe was emanating a smell for all to smell that encourages a spiritual atmosphere. I looked frankincense up on the internet. It also has cancer curing powers and tooth decay curing powers and just like a litany of stuff that frankincense does. But this one magi knew that he would be the frankincense magi to follow the star to Jesus. This is what he came to earth to do, and no one could turn him around. We as a church have claimed together that we want this type of clarity of mission and vision. A vision that unites us around a common goal to be the light or a light in the world in a particular way. To follow that star, one star, that leads us closer to God. In business speak, if you remember the story, the call to be that persistent hedgehog instead of the scattered fox. So, we have taken on a visioning process where everyone who wanted to and was able to got into small groups this fall for 6 consecutive weeks to develop relationships and to begin asking questions about what it means to be church together. And we certainly didn't solve the whole thing this fall. Some of us even think we came up with a big pile of dirt together. And how can dirt possibly turn into a vision? On our tables in the parish hall, we have seeds, as a reminder that dirt is fertile for planting seeds. Some of you also came up with brilliant ideas as well. But we want to bring this moment of uncertainty, hope, and let God plant seeds in us as a community, just as we are, to become something that we may not have imagined. During our Visioning Summit today after church, we will spend time discussing what are our strengths as a church. What do we do really well? What are the passions of our members and the community? And what does our community here and beyond here need? And we will bring all the beautiful fabrics of ideas, the gorgeous dyed strings of our passions, all of the things that make our heart sing and come alive, the DNA of this church. And our visioning team, whose identities won't be revealed until the end of our time today, they will listen between the lines. And then they will spend the next 3 months weaving these fabrics and yarns together to create a beautiful tapestry that will reflect our collective vision. We will have a chance to give feedback when they are close to done, but largely, we will trust the visioning team as weavers to create something that reflects who God is calling us to be. Today, church, we are the wise ones, following the star of Jesus. And what will we pick up and bring with us? Maybe our church will become the food and faith church, focusing on feeding the community physically and spiritually, holding regular dinners, thinking about the early church over meals, thinking about where our food comes from. Maybe our church will become the interfaith Christian church, where we focus on going deeply into our own faith, making sure we are educated about the tenets of Christianity and well-versed in the Bible, so that we can share our faith with our Muslim and Jewish neighbors and people with no faith at all. Maybe our church will become the church of the mind, where we seek to educate, where we focus on mental health, where we practice mindfulness. Maybe we will become the embodied church, where we focus on the incarnation of Christ, on healthy lifestyles, on embodied spiritual practices, i.e. more dancing in the pews. Maybe our church will become the relationship church, seeking to intentionally deepen relationships here with people here and with people who aren't here yet, while we deepen our relationship with our faith, while we bring each other soup when we are sick. Maybe our church will become the arts church, where we will create opportunities for people to express their faith through music and the arts. Do you see the merits of this hedgehog vision we are seeking to develop? Will you pick up gold, frankincense, or myrrh? What will be our focus? It is powerful to unite behind a vision. And it does not have to be our forever vision, and we will necessarily have to discern again as rapidly as culture changes. And our vision doesn't have to encompass all we ever were and all we ever will be, but it will help us bring each other to our next stage of life as a church. Helping us focus on a clear vision will help us evolve. When we see that light, when we see that star together, something happens where we become the light as well. When we look at the moon reflects a blue glow on our skin and our eyes. The moon is bright because she looks at the sun, who gives us warmth and life. When the wise ones saw the star, they became a little brighter. And when they saw Jesus, well, they glowed from within. Matthew says they were filled with joy, and they carried that joy and glow back to their people. Do you see the merits of uniting behind a common vision? And it is particularly important right now, in our political atmosphere, to unite behind a common vision. Because, let me tell you, it is tempting to unite behind the disdain for a common enemy. It can be very satisfying and mobilizing. But wouldn't it be powerful if united behind a common vision as well, or instead, where our lives together were transforming the world and ourselves and each other, lived with mutual respect, with love, with caring for our neighbor, lives that just by living them resist evil and reflect God. When we unite against an enemy, we still allow our enemy to define us. When we unite behind a vision and mission, we create our own rules and our own set of values. Friedrich Buchner wrote, The place God calls you to is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. He doesn't say where your deep anger meets the world's deep awfulness, although there's some merit in anger because it can turn into fuel. This calls us to get in touch with our individual and our collective I have a dream speeches. Not I have a qualm or I have an issue, but I have a dream. And it requires us institutionally to be able to get behind that dream together. I have so much hope in this community, and I have so much faith in God that I know as we self-define individually and collectively, as we become clearer about who we are and how we want to celebrate the gifts of God, we will shine and glow with the presence of God. This church and the Christian tradition have so much to offer the world right now. So let's pick up our frankincense and follow that star.